Hi, my name is Jim Hoggett. We're a Coeur d'Alene Open Bible Church, and we happen to be in my office with a couple from the New Testament. They were referred to my office for counseling with Paul the Apostle, the guy who wrote most of the New Testament. And this is Priscilla and Aquila. You're in my office to talk about relationships. So today we're going to talk about something that comes from an old book, at least old to us, and it's called Games People Play. And it's with Eric Burney, an old book. But it talks about a concept that's probably one of the best I've seen to help people understand about relationships. In this book, it's described as something called transactional analysis. Transactional analysis. And it says this, that any time of the day or night, a person can be in one of three different mind frames. You can be in a parent mind frame, or an adult mind frame, or a child mind frame. Now, if you're a child, then that's appropriate. But if you're an adult and you're in a child mind frame, it may not be appropriate. Children have a tendency to be very selfish and think about themselves first. It's me, my. Oh, what do you think about me? It's all about them. And if you talk about the child, the corresponding one to that you would suppose would be a parent. So what is the parent? The parent is someone who's always telling somebody what they should do, or in charge, or trying to take control. A parent is a very appropriate one if you are a parent. Now, the adult one is the one that most of us should spend most of our time in. Now, watch how this happens. If you're in a relationship with somebody else, we're going to draw three circles. And at any time of the day or night, a person can be in their parent, adult, or child. So I'm in a relationship with somebody else. We have two adults, my wife and I, or my grown child and I, and we're in a relationship. The best relationships for adults is adult to adult. So I have an adult conversation with an adult, and they respond back to me as an adult. But let's suppose I decide for some reason to go up into my parent frame of mind, and I'm talking to another adult. The only way that works is if I talk down to them and make them a child. Often you hear words like, you should or you ought. This is what you need to do. And very often you'll find people switching to a parent when they should be an adult. Now let's do it the other way around. If I'm in my child frame of mind and I'm talking to an adult like my wife, and I say, honey, I don't feel good. Will you make it all better? In order to do that, that makes her have to be a parent. If you have a person living in your house and you're supposed to be adult to adult, and you're getting mixed up with these, it confuses relationships, creates an awful lot of very difficult, hard feelings. Remember, the best relationships are when you have an adult to adult. When you say, this is how I'm feeling, and the Bible says, speak the truth in love. So I have a relationship that's adult to adult. Now here's where it gets to be difficult. If I have been a father for years and years and years, and my children grow up, and I don't change the frame of mind in my head, I can still be talking to them like they're children when they're 25, 30, 35 years old. No wonder there's so much difficulty between relationships in parenting. There's a time in parenting where you have to stop being parent, and then you become good friends. So you build an adult to adult. If I get a phone call from one of my adult daughters, if they ask me a question, I'll give them an answer to it, but I have to be very careful that it doesn't have the ring of authority to it. If I'm not saying, now, this is what you need to do, and you weren't raised that way, and I raised you better. If I'm doing any of that, In order for that to work, they got to go down to the child. Most of them will have a difficult time with that. So I learned to bite my tongue, and here's how I do it. I say to myself as I'm talking to my daughters, Jim, would you say that to your best friend? I wouldn't go into my best friend's house and tell him to clean up his house. No, I'd say adult to adult. So when I'm talking to my daughters, I don't come at them with that same father down to child. I go back to adult, and I speak to them as I would my best friend. Does that make sense? Okay, we'll pick this up next week. Thank you.